early morning, can't control it. Fired up and counting every minute. Hands are shaking, eyes are burning. The time has come, yeah, this is not a warning. The week was just so long, we had to let it go. Our problems disappeared, we're not tied up anymore. The weekend is here. Sunday calls, we are sick and tired of it. Up and down, can you feel it?
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Kurt Johansson Show. It's Kurt, and another special guest. Second time I'm getting to speak to him about his amazing career. And well, ladies and gentlemen, John Skyler, Big Match John, is on the show. John, welcome.
The real Big Match John. So big match that one part with you wasn't enough to contain all my big matchness, and we had to come on and do part two.
Exactly. And is that big match? You can actually see him. He isn't invisible. You can see the work he does. But you mentioned it there, part one. Obviously, since the rebrand, I will be releasing part one onto the show where we delved into how you got started and really covered quite a lot of your stuff, including trips to China, your time with NWA Anarchy, and for those of you that may be interested, the matches with New Japan when they was in America and WWE. But since then, a lot has changed.
Oof. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I really don't remember the last time we spoke. I guess it was right at the beginning of the pandemic. And
March, I believe.
yeah. So, man, like, I feel like we definitely have a lot of material to cover for a part two. So, yeah, things have kind of been a little bit crazy these last few months.
Yep. Well, so you mentioned it was just the start of the pandemic. Shows started cancelling. The pandemic's lasted a lot longer than we both thought it would. And we're here now in September and the pandemic's been going. But how have you been coping? Obviously, we have seen you wrestling, which we'll touch upon shortly. But how have you been coping with the pandemic and trying to keep in ring shape, I guess?
So I mean, I've been trying to find new hobbies and things to kind of take up the majority of my time, much like I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this or listening to this have done as well in their own lives. And I'm sure we'll talk more about the actual injury that I sustained as well back in June. But it's been as crazy as everything was with the pandemic, as hard as it was to kind of cope with not being able to see like my friends, the fans, and everybody else, and do all these things that I'm so used to doing. It was multiplied and even tougher after I got injured because things like working out, like whether it's in the gym or in a wrestling ring, to stay in ring shape, that was an outlet for me that was kind of taken away after I was injured. So it's been a little bit tougher lately because a lot of my time has been spent in physical therapy, and I'm back in the gym now, but just doing upper body workouts and things like that.
Yeah, was it the MCL or was it ACL?
It was the ACL, the MCL, and the PCL.
Fuck.
Yeah. If you're gonna tear everything, I guess you might as well tear it all at one time. It's like I say, like if you're gonna mess up, you might as well mess up all the way. So.
No, like I can't even imagine how that'd be. Like I think, well, it'd have been last year. I did my MCL, only damaged my patella tendon and all the tissue around my kneecap, and that was bad enough. Never mind for yourself. Like, and again, alluding back to the original like chat that we had, so much has changed, and we were speaking about WWE a lot and all the stuff that he'd been doing with them over the years, and the fact that you did have something lined up with them before the pandemic came on, which you couldn't really allude to too much because obviously didn't want to say something that's not happened yet, lose the opportunity. And then I think it'd have been probably the April that we spoke, maybe. And a month later, there you are, Double or Nothing. And I'm like, wait, is that John?
Yeah.
And then I took the picture, tweeted out there, and then messaged you. And as behold, there you are, front and center, Double or Nothing. How did that come about?
So I'll backtrack and I'll allude to the thing that we were talking about previously. I had a tryout lined up with the WWE at the Performance Center, and day one of the tryout was the day that really everything kind of hit the fan in terms of the pandemic and the world getting shut down. So we got there to the Performance Center on day one, and we were all immediately flown home because they needed the Performance Center to tape SmackDown and Raw, and we didn't know it at the time, but it was also going to be the home of WrestleMania, which is
Yeah.
just at the time seemed so absurd to think about. But here we are months later, and it's actually a reality. And I can't believe WrestleMania was in front of 0 fans this year. Uh, so all that was kind of crazy. Obviously, I was pretty dejected and a little disappointed because I trained really hard over the course of 2 or 3 months to get ready for the trial at the
Yeah.
Performance Center. I was in the best shape that I think I've ever been in, and you get there and then you find out, okay, you're all going home now. That's it. It's over. And so it's kind of, I went home disappointed, and with no indie wrestling to kind of fall back on or use as again as an outlet. Everything kind of shut down. I was kind of, thinking, when is this going to end? I was a little bit depressed. And then I got a random text from a couple different people at AEW. So it all kind of materialized very quickly. And next thing I know, I got a text from QT Marshall, and he said, "Hey, would you like to come do some TVs and have an opportunity?" And I said, "Sure, absolutely." He sent me over all the details, and I had my first match on AEW Dark with Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. And really, I was only guaranteed one opportunity. As soon as the match was over, I got to the back, and everybody was very, very happy with how it turned out. One of which was Billy Gunn, and I've known Billy for a good couple years now, and we've
Yeah.
got a good rapport. And he's a great coach there at AEW. And he asked me if I was interested in coming back the next week, and I said yes, absolutely. And then again, they booked me for the next week, and the next set of darks or AEW Dark tapings, I wrestled Billy. So it just that's kind of how it really happened. Double or Nothing's actually a funny story because they kind of had it. It was kind of up in the air on whether or not they wanted me to come to the pay per view. I actually, because it was on a Saturday, uh, I had just done in-ring training in the morning with a bunch of guys that I'm helping train at the school that I trained at here in Columbia, South Carolina. And it was probably 1:30 in the afternoon, and I got a text again from QT, and he said, "Hey, can you be at the pay-per-view?" And Jacksonville, Florida is 4 hours away if you're driving from Columbia, South Carolina, and it's already 1:30 in the afternoon. And I go, "Well, I mean, I'm in Columbia, like I'm 4 hours away." And QT said, "So can you be at the pay-per-view?" And I go, "Yeah, I guess." Like I threw everything in my bag, and thankfully my gear was clean and washed and all that, which I ended up not needing anyways. But and I literally just hauled ass down to Jacksonville, Florida. Got there at like 6 o'clock, and it's just a whirlwind, crazy day. But I think things like that kind of show people in charge, like, all right, we can depend on this guy. He had literally just hours of notice, and he got here.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the third match that I was going to have on AEW Dark with the Dark Order was when I got injured. So, uh, I'm sure, again, like we'll dive deep into what happened and everything. But I will say that it's kind of a blessing in disguise. Yeah, there's never a good time to get injured, but I guess if I'm going to get injured, this would probably be as good a time event
Yeah.
as any, because again, the entire world shut down. So, and I can't stress enough how great like the AEW medical team and staff and Dr. Sampson and their trainer Bryce and a handful of others have been in terms of that day dealing with my injury and how they've kind of taken care of me since. Uh, as we're recording this now, like I'm literally flying back to Jacksonville at 7 in the morning to
Oh
be
wow.
at the tapings this week. Even though I can't even do anything, I can't wrestle. Like they've been very good about making sure I'm taken care of during this tough time, and that's such a blessing, and it just shows you what kind of people they are at AEW.
Yeah. Nah, just to hear that as well is it's heartwarming even for myself. Like from what we were speaking about the time, all those times you've turned up, whether it was Ring of Honor with a prospect tournament or the different opportunities with WWE, and everyone's like, "Great job," but then nothing materializing, and then this comes out, and the first indication of okay, the standing by was after that injury, we still saw you ringside with the crutches, which again, most places they're like, nah, you're injured, you're off the shelf. We've seen it with Britt Baker. They've managed to keep somebody with a similar injury in the storyline and a massive part of the show rather than thinking, hey, you're going to get paid less, you're going to be at home, people are going to forget about you. They're keeping a way to keep people fresh and keep them working and essentially like using different skills that they normally wouldn't have done and help portray the character. So is that important for yourself? The fact that they are still giving you that opportunity to be even ringside, getting your face on TV, and what's that been?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity. And I always tell guys this that are just breaking in anytime you can get your face on television, whether it's for 30 minutes or 30 seconds, an opportunity is an opportunity. And so for them to uh, give me that opportunity to still be seen here and there on television during this crazy time we're living in is very, very good. Or it's just, again, the word that comes to mind is blessing. It's a blessing. And financially, obviously, times are tough for a lot of people. I'm at a good point in my life where I've saved my money and live very comfortably, but don't spend beyond my means. So I don't have the financial struggles that others have, thankfully, knock on wood. So it's also been a blessing financially too for them to continue to bring me to TV and pay me. So yeah, it's hopefully when all this is over and the pandemic is done and the world opens back up, hopefully, and it looks like it's going to be that way. I'm going to have some options and some decisions to make, and that part is really exciting. And that's kind of what I'm hanging my hat on in terms of focusing on and trying to rehab and train and do the physical therapy so I can get cleared sooner rather than later.
Yeah, definitely. So, what was that first match like then? I believe again it was yourself and Brady Pierce against Sonny Kiss, Joey Janela. So, what was that experience like? It's essentially new way of working, especially if it's TV. Obviously, WWE work differently to AEW. What was that whole experience, and what was the actual feedback you got after that match from like Billy in Q2?
So I'd worked with Sonny Kiss before on the Indies, and I think Sonny is great. I think Sonny's a great talent. Uh, Sonny actually gave me a lot of credit that day for helping helping him whenever he was getting started. And so, uh, yeah, it was fun. I'd never worked with Janela before. Me and Joey had done a bunch of shows together again on the independents. Uh, but my first day was kind of interesting because I started looking up and down the roster and thinking about what I could, how I would fit in and who I would be able to work with. And I started thinking like, I've worked with 95% of this roster already on the independents, like, SCU and everyone from Sonny Kiss to Cody. I've wrestled, just about everybody there. And
Yeah,
so, there are a handful of guys I really want to work with, like the Darby Allens and Scorpio Sky and Ricky Starks. I mean, there's a handful of guys, and then a big bucket list thing for me would be one day to get the opportunity to wrestle Chris Jericho, because he's always been a huge influence in my career, and I grew up. I mean, not idolizing him per se, but definitely patterned myself here and there after Jericho and his career path. I read his book like right when I got in the business and decided from early on that the career that Jericho has had is kind of the career I want to have. I wanted to get the chance to travel the world and then eventually take everything I've learned and utilize it and be prepared and ready to wrestle and make money on television. And that's exactly what Chris has done. And so it would be a big bucket list thing for me to get to work with Chris. All that being said, I know I'm going off on a tangent. Day one was so cool. Our producer or coach for the match was actually Dustin Rhodes, And so getting the chance to collaborate and talk with him, day one, it's so crazy how they make you feel like an equal
Yeah.
from early on. Because I remember there were things like Dustin was asking me, like, "Hey, what do you guys want to do in the match?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? What do we want to do in the match?" Like, everywhere else you go, you're told what you're going to do. And so just to kind of have that freedom was really cool. And the feedback that we got was, I think people were really happy. I don't know. And again, this is just pure speculation on my part, so it might not be accurate, but I don't know if they were maybe still on the fence about Joey and Sonny as a tag team. But after that match, they were really pleased with how they gelled as a tag team and thought that they had it was the words we were told was that was the best that they had looked up until that point on television as a team. And so, just it was kind of cool to see a couple weeks later they're getting vignettes and they're getting all this cool stuff thrown their way, and they're getting a break as a team. So that's kind of cool to see and know maybe that I had a little bit of a part in that. But as soon as the match was over, yeah, I got great feedback from Billy, great feedback from Dustin, and I mean, it was all thumbs up across the board, and really it's been that way. Every time I've been there and every opportunity that I've had, even the match where I was injured against the Dark Order, I thought the match was great, and even despite the injury, I was very, very pleased with how it came off on television. I mean, a lot of people didn't even know I was injured because, like an idiot, I wrestled for 2 or 3 minutes with no right knee. So.
Well, now going to the Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela match. Big match, John. Again, big match, John. So you mentioned the match with Billy as well. Again, like Jericho, Billy's been there. He's done it all. He's one of the biggest names in professional wrestling, especially when I jumped in the 90s as a fan. What was that like then, from him giving you feedback and thinking, you know what, you was only supposed to be here for one day, you've done a good job, I'm going to be wrestling you next week?
Yeah, I mean that was a cool seal of approval because Billy's like notoriously known as one of the straightest shooters you're gonna find. Like he does not bite his tongue. He doesn't hold anything back. Like he very loud all the time. And so for him to kind of say like, yeah, he even said they've been wanting me to wrestle on Dark for a while, and I just like I'm not really feeling it. But if you're here and I'm wrestling you, I would be happy to do it. And so that was kind of where that materialized from. And I think a big thing too, especially for somebody like Billy, who this is going to sound bad, who's getting up there in age, but he's had a lot of miles put on his body. He wants to be able to work with guys that are going to take care of him in the ring and not hurt him. And so I think that more so had to do with the decision, or was a big part of the decision more so than anything. Because again, I'd wrestled Billy before on the independents. Always fun. It was always easy, and the big thing is I never hurt him. And so I think there's a big trust factor that kind of comes into play when some of those decisions are made. But even then, like like you said, you grew up a big fan in the Attitude Era. So did I, and so there's still that part of me. Like at times, I ask myself, like, why? This is crazy that I'm wrestling on TV, and I'm about to wrestle Billy Gunn, who had his action figures and would practice the Famouser on all my friends when I was a kid, and things like that. Like, so it's just kind of a pretty surreal thing to be standing there in the ring across from him, and just also how gigantic of a human being he is physically. He's still just enormous. So,
Yeah.
but Billy was great. He's always been great. He's always been honest, and he's always been very giving too.
Yeah, it's ridiculous the fact that it's 2020 and you can put Billy Gunn in any company and he's still a better body guy than 95% of the roster.
Yeah, it's
It's
unbelievable.
yeah, it's mind blowing to be honest. So you again went on to the Dark Order. You was with Brady Pierce again. You'd tag team wrestling is something you've been very successful in over your career, whether that was with Corey Hollis, you had Preston Quinn. We spoke about in PWF when it was Steve Carino and CW Anderson as the Extreme Horsemen.
Yeah.
How is it for you looking in when again you're going in with Brady Pierce? You've helped give Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela their best match today. despite you being injured, you've had another good match with Dark Order, and AEW's tag division is stacked. There's so much opportunity as a tag team. Does that excite you a lot at all?
Yeah, really. I mean, I've always said that a great tag match can outshine a great singles match any day of the week because there's so many moving parts. You got four guys out there instead of two. There's a lot to play with in terms of the rules of tag team wrestling. You're seeing it now with FTR because not just because they're two of my buddies, but they're pretty much the best at doing tag team wrestling. And so, as a fan, it's cool for me to sit back and watch those guys and watch the matches that they have with Paige and Omega. The impending match that we're going to see with them and the Bucks. Their matches with SCU. And several other teams that they've already worked with, the Lucha Bros, and the list goes on and on and on. There's something very exciting about the future of tag team wrestling in that company. In terms of me and Brady teaming together, I can't predict what the future holds in terms of if there's a future there at all with us as a team.
Yeah.
I know we were excited to team together because we have known each other for so long. I was at the show where Brady Pierce had his first match. So I feel like I've known him pretty much since he got started, because I have.
Yeah.
And so we've traveled up the roads together, down the roads together. So it was kind of cool to experience that with him and get that opportunity as a team. And we got a lot of good advice from another guy that I grew up kind of like idolizing, and that's Double A Arn Anderson. And so he was very instrumental and helpful in helping me and Brady kind of develop some of the stuff that we did on television as a team.
Yeah. We spoke about you obviously Rock and Roll Express there from like where you've grown up, you've known them going through your career, and now you are getting the opportunity where there is Arn, there's Tully, and even your buddies FTR essentially. Uh, what is the best piece of advice you've received since being in AW?
Cool.
Just to put you on the spot.
Uh, well, a lot of the advice that I've gotten, obviously lately, is pertained to the injury, and it's so surreal because it's coming from people like Jake Roberts and Jim Ross and Arn Anderson and Jerry Lynn and Chris Jericho and so many other guys are just preaching to me like you've got to stay positive, you've got to mentally like reset and not let this affect you, so you can return with 100% like positive mindset. You're ready to go, and obviously not wanting to rush anything because the last thing you want to do is come back too soon and then get injured again, uh,
Yeah.
and then be out like another 7 months or whatever the case may be. But uh, yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, with some of the matches that I've had, everything's been so positive. You know, I think one of the biggest pieces of advice came from Cash Wheeler, my buddy. He said, "Don't worry all the time about stepping on people's toes here, especially when it comes to pitching ideas or whatever the case may be. Because if you get a foot in the door here, you got a foot in the door here, and you got to do whatever it takes essentially to get that foot in the door. But this is like a place that kind of want guys to have creative freedom. They want guys to come to them with ideas. So don't ever feel like you're stepping on anybody's toes if you're pitching an idea." Uh, and so that kind of gave me some confidence, and that was also really helpful. But he's helped me throughout my career and my life. So stuff outside of wrestling, he's always been very helpful and instrumental in kind of keeping my head on straight.
Yeah, we spoke a lot about Cash in the past, and we was talking about where is he going to end up. Obviously, he hadn't debuted in AEW yet. Like, even yourself as a fan and a friend, what was that like when you saw the truck pulling up and out pop them just looking absolutely fucking badass?
So again, this will peel the curtain back just a little bit, but I started or I had my first match the week before they debuted,
Okay.
and my match for Dark that was taped with Sonny and Joey aired the night before they debuted. That entire week, because nobody knew that they were debuting, it was very, very secret. Uh, uh, I actually rode down to Orlando with Dax, the former Scott Dawson, and spent the entire week with them. So I actually kind of knew that they were debuting, and I was one of the very few that was kind of smartened up to it. But it was kind of cool to hear some of the ideas that they were coming up with, including the truck, and how initially the truck was just supposed to be for the debut. Once they got the truck, I think it was Tony Khan that was the one that said, "Hey, this is something that we could potentially do every week if you guys were interested in having the truck every week." And they were like, "Hell yeah! Like, who doesn't want to drive a truck to the ring? Like Steve Austin, like that's just badass." So, but I've been really, so happy for both those guys because they do seem to be, just happy, 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 happy. And I know they both love wrestling, they love performing, and they love being in the ring. And I think, AEW is such a great fit for the two of them.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we spoke about different ways you could work with them, whether it was you aligning with them yourself, again, visually, your in-ring style, and probably your whole philosophy and outlook on professional wrestling matches what those two personify in the ring. But also if you use like adversaries. So if you were after the injury to face FTR, whether it's on Dynamite or Dark, again, you've had some amazing tag partners in the past. Who would you want? Because we've seen Corey appear on Dark from time to time. Like, who would you want to team up with when you're facing Cash and Dax?
Oh man, that's such a loaded question. I think that there's a variety of individuals that I would like to team with. Obviously, people like Corey that I have experience with. But somebody that I've been really impressed with, and I think that would be actually a good fit for me as a partner. And I've talked about this with some of my friends, even there in the UK, because he's well known in the UK. Is Kip Sabian, because I think there would be a pretty cool dynamic there with me and Kip, an American and a Brit on a team together would be something that's not really seen a whole lot, and I think that would be fun. And I think our demeanors, our attitudes, would complement each other well. And it would be a little bit of that yin yang type factor to it, where the differences are there, but just what I think would be kind of a cool package, especially with Penelope as well in the mix. So he would be one. I'm really impressed with Ricky Starks. I've known Ricky for several years, and I think he's just always, it almost disgusts me like how good he is, and how easy it seems to come to him, and how just so easy he does the little things. He almost in a way reminds me of Randy Orton, because Randy's so good that sometimes everything just seems so effortless for him and easy and flawless. And so those are just a couple people that I would obviously wouldn't mind working with, whether it be in the ring as adversaries or teaming with them on the same side.
Yeah, with Ricky, before he arrived in AEW, there's always the speculation when everybody knew he was leaving NWA, and you hear everybody, oh, well, he's only been on NWA. Is he going to be able to step up? And like you said, he's done it flawlessly. Everything just seems so natural. It was as if he was born to be on that big stage in the front of with people, on the microphone, charismatic as hell. And I'd see a lot of similarities with Ricky or Kip with the way you'd work with them. I think, again, with the complementing each other. How long's the injury?
So I was injured back at the beginning of June. I had surgery on June the 26th. I'll actually go back to my orthopedic surgeon or doctor on September the 28th, and I will know more about hopefully what the timetable looks like from here on out, because initially I was told anywhere from 6 to 9 months. And when I started physical therapy, I'm in a great place here in Columbia, South Carolina, doing physical therapy twice a week. They pretty much told me from the get-go at physical therapy that it was going to take the full 9 months. Yeah. So if that is the case, we're probably looking at March of 2021 maybe February of 2021. If I'm hoping it's sooner, but that's right now we're looking at early 2021 in terms of me being cleared to wrestle again.
So you mentioned before you went to Double or Nothing, you was training, you was coaching some of your students yourself. Have you been able to get down to the academy? Have you been able to help coach?
Yeah, even injured, obviously there's only so much I can do in the ring in terms of physicality and because I'm not cleared to actually wrestle yet. But me being a little bit stubborn, there is a time or two where I've gotten in the ring and like gingerly put guys in the headlocks or had them take my arm or vice versa or whatever because I was I've always been told like it's almost like the Bobby Eaton factor. Like Bobby Eaton was and is widely regarded as one of the best workers of all time. But as a coach and as a trainer, he was kind of so. It was difficult for him because he had a hard time articulating and telling guys what to do. He just had to kind of like grab them and show them. And I'm kind of the same way. There's a lot of times when it's hard for me to tell guys what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I just have to like grab them and show them, or just do it like this. So, but yeah, I have gotten down there, and I try to get down there as much as I can. Obviously, my schedule, even injured, is pretty hectic. So, but I love teaching guys. I love training guys, and that was one thing I loved about being in the UK last time was I was able to train a few guys, and do a couple guest coaching seminars and stuff while I was over there in the UK.
Yeah. What academy, what school are you training at the moment?
Oh, so I work mostly at the school that I was trained at. It's Bob Keller's training school here in Columbia, South Carolina. That's where I do primarily most of my like helping train and coach and stuff like that. But that's the same school that I trained at when I first got started.
Okay, brilliant. Is there anybody that you've been coaching that's getting their bookings or were getting the bookings before the pandemic that people should check out?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys, and obviously some of them are more experienced than others. Some of them are still trying to find their footing, find their way a little bit. But a couple of the guys recently that I've been helping, one of them is pretty well known here in the Carolinas, or he's making his name. A guy by the name of Zuka King, and then there's also a referee that I had a hand in training by the name of Jared Fritz, who appeared recently on like the NWA show. So he's been doing a lot of officiating for the NWA. So yeah, and then obviously when I go to these different shows, I try to still teach and train guys at the shows if they're willing and open for suggestions. I don't just go up and try to help anybody. They don't necessarily want the feedback of the coaches.
Yeah. No. So at the beginning, you mentioned after this you're going to have a lot of decisions to make. Where's your head at? Where's your head at in terms of? I know mainly you'll be recovering on your injury, but where is your head at for the return of John Skyler?
Obviously, like I said, I'm very excited to get cleared. That's going to be a big thing for me. And while I'm out, I've already come up with some ideas, not only for my return, but some things kind of leading up to when I'm going to be ready. Things that I kind of want to put out there on social media.
Yeah.
So I'm just really, my mindset is I want to come back the best I've ever been. I want to be mentally tougher than I was when I got injured because I feel like that was a big part of it. I don't think I was mentally tough at the time. And I think that kind of attributed to me getting injured. Like my mind's probably other places. As it is for a lot of people right now, just because of the state of the world. So I want to come back mentally tough, and I want to come back in the best shape that I've ever been in. That way, people are getting the best of me when I am cleared and ready to return.
Yeah, I think with the pandemic as well, it's given a lot of people to use social media as a platform for reinventing themselves. We've seen it quite a lot recently, even before the pandemic, with Moxley with his transition from Ambrose to Moxley, and where's he going to end up? We've been seeing EC3 do it as well, and he seems to be turning up everywhere. He's doing whatever he wants to do at the moment, which is great, and we've seen it with FTR as well. Is that the sort of stuff that you got in mind to try and build yourself up?
Yeah, I've got a guy that I want to that a friend of mine, Patrick, here in the Carolinas, that he's so good at that video producing and things like that. And we've really collaborated to kind of come up with some ideas. I was honestly inspired by a lot of the stuff that EC3 put out there, and so that really helped me get the gears turning in my head in terms of coming up with ideas. Like I've got a notebook laying around here somewhere, just like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll get this idea and I'll just start jotting down promos, jotting down how I want it shot, and all that kind of stuff. So really, I've been spending a lot of time out, like just creatively kind of coming up with new ideas, and kind of almost like in a refreshing type way. But yeah, hopefully we can get some of this stuff shot soon because I would love to have some sort of teasers and stuff thrown out there to kind of build anticipation for when I am ready to return.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen it. Somebody that is doing some great things at the moment in terms of them, and it's somebody I did not expect to be making a big comeback into wrestling. Crowbar from WCW.
I have not seen it, but that's
He's
pretty
been
crazy.
he's been doing a series on his Twitter where there's been about 6 or 7 of them, and like I was blown away. Anyways, just from the way he speaks, he's like, shit, he's a talker. Like you never thought of Crowbar back in that. So I definitely check that out as well. Have you heard anything from WWE then? Because everybody knows they're watching everything. They know everything that's happening in the world of professional wrestling and every sport in and around it that's got some sort of physicality. And you've gone from having a scheduled tryout to then appearing on AEW Dark.
Yeah, there have been follow-ups and there's been communication there as well, and we'll just have to wait and see. Again, like I hate to be that way, but my main focus, and this has come from both sides, AEW and WWE, is both sides want me to get cleared and want me to get healthy and be as healthy as I can, so I can have a prolonged career. And that's it at the moment. And but there has been communication, and it's stuff that I'm excited about, and it's again, it gives me a purpose, a direction. It gives me something to train for. It gives me, just something to kind of focus all my energy on, and that's getting in good shape, great shape, and then also getting clear.
So March 2021, it's going to be going from big match John to hottest free agent John.
Now, I like the sound of that for sure.
Hottest free John that can be.
Yeah.
So, like again, during all this time, like where can people find you? Like,
well, my Twitter and Instagram are still the same. The John Skyler, Skyler. Really, that's the main. Those are the main two right now: Instagram and Twitter. I still have a YouTube channel that I kind of update from time to time. I haven't been good about it lately, but I'm hoping that when I start getting some of the stuff shot that I want to shoot, things will be picking up over there on the YouTube channel, and then also ProWrestlingTees.com. Like I've got a store up there if they are interested in buying any merchandise, and they can also feel free to contact me directly, whether it's via email, direct message, or inbox, or whatever. If they're interested in buying any merch, I've still got tons of things for sale. And I always pride myself on making the experience positive for the fan, whoever's going to take their time to order merchandise from me. So I try to give them just a little bit extra, something that they're not expecting every single time somebody orders something from me. So.
No, brilliant. It's good that you do that. Like again, a mutual friend of ours, Nathan Cruz, he does the same. And when I've helped him out with one of his other shirts, and he's like, "Yeah, do you want one of the free posters that I try and give to people?" I was like, Nathan, I don't want to be putting a poster up. So again, it's good that you have that mentality because it builds the rapport, and you see people when they don't expect something free, and it's like, hey, like, thanks. And it's good that you see that way and you're building that rapport. And this is where it's supposed to be the end, but we'll probably go on a massive another tangent. So if there is people that have been watching AEW Dark and a fan of your work and they're wanting to, if they're wanting to learn more, you can check out part 1, which I'll be releasing on the Kate Johansson show, where we do talk about your career. But for those of them listening right now, what matches in what companies would you suggest they check out?
Matches of mine.
Yes.
A lot of great footage that you're going to find. Some of the work that I'm most proud of comes from the PWX promotion in North Carolina. You can find pretty much all of their shows on the High Spots Wrestling Network, or you can go to pwxpro.com and it'll point you in the right direction of where you can find some of these matches. But matches I'm most proud of, matches with Johnny Gargano, matches with Zack Sabre Jr., Juice Robinson, so many great Carolina talent too, like Corey Hollis and Ethan Case, Jake Manning, Caleb Conley. There's a match from last year where we teamed with Jushin Thunder Liger. Like, just all sorts of great matches, not just from me, but I mean the talent roster at PWX is unlike any I've ever been a part of. It's a hell of a team that they've built there in terms of guys from the first match all the way through the main event. It is quite the stacked roster. And then, I still think once this injury is over or I'm cleared, I think my best matches are still ahead of me. I'm really excited to get back out there and start having even better matches than I had when before I got hurt. And then, I mean, I'm really proud of a lot of the stuff I've done in the UK, especially wrestling guys like Rampage Brown and Nathan, and there's just James Mason. Like, there's just so many great guys over there that I learned so much from, and just matches that I'm so proud of that I've had with some of those guys.
Yeah, hopefully before you do, let's say, settle down and choose which one your love is going to be, whether that's going to be AEW or WWE. Hopefully, if pandemic permitting, like, again, I don't want to touch wood. I'll touch wood. I don't want to jinx it. We thought it was going to be a couple of months, and here we are, nearly at the end of the year, and we're still going through it. But hopefully, we will see you back in the UK sometime soon, and hopefully, this won't be the last time we talk. Like, once you're cleared and once that decision's been made, hopefully get you back on as well. And yeah, just best of luck with the recovery. That's all like I can wish you, essentially. Just best of luck with that.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you having me on. I can't wait to get back to the UK because I'll have to buy a pint or a round for the two of us. So I'm really excited to get cleared, and I'm just excited for what 2021 has in store for me, because hopefully it's nothing like what 2020's been.
Nah, hopefully not. So everybody, that was the interview with John Skyler talking about his time with AEW and his road to recovery. Make sure you check out part 1 where we do talk about all his training and some fantastic stories, including with Steve Corino, that time Jushin Thunder Liger was at PWX. Make sure you check him out on social media and support him. And again, you can find me at K Johansson Show. If you're not listening, make sure you've subscribed, hit that like button as well, and stay tuned for more exciting news.
Friday morning.